those of you who don't know me, I'm Natalie Kent, creator of Sacred Business, and I teach business by nature. And that means that we look to Mother Earth to see how she creates. And all of these workshops are based on natural principles that I've come to learn by observing nature. So it's something that has evolved in me over time by spending a lot of time outdoors whilst I'm growing my business. So I've kind of been a farmer of my business by doing that. And it's been incredibly illuminating to see how much nature has to give us and to show us about life and how to create in a way that doesn't feel hard or complicated or, out of reach. So that's what Business by Nature is all about. And today, natural pricing is going to be looking at how we create money flow by choosing prices that are intuitively in alignment on several levels. And we're going to look at audience, numbers, and intention with your prices. So let's get cracking. I'm just going to share my screen. Actually, I'm going to turn Facebook off first because no doubt that will ding all the way through. Okay. Let's go. So first of all, this is a reminder to check your inbox tomorrow. Some people haven't been checking their inbox and they haven't received the recordings and the templates that I send out after every workshop. It goes out 24 hours after the workshop. You may need to check your promotions folder in Gmail and whitelist the email address love@sacredbusiness.com.au. So that's to make sure that you actually get all of the resources that are available to you after this workshop. So you don't have to madly, crazily take everything down on paper as we're talking through this. So let's begin by just revisiting something. Some of you may have seen this in the Natural Cycle Planner ebook, the instructional book that goes with the planner. There's something called the flow structure model in Sacred Business, which is all about harmonizing the analytical, intellectual side, the aspect of us in all of us that wants to figure out life, the mind, essentially. So that's the structure, thinking, planning, predicting, organizing, all of that is one part of our nature. The other part is the flow part, and that is the feeling, intuitive, cyclical nature that we also have within us. And that's kind of been a little bit forgotten in the mainstream business world. So with Sacred Business, we're looking to bring both in balance. But the key is that when we do this, the outcome is much greater impact. So we can have a greater impact when we are in balance within ourselves because we are in full integrity. We are operating from our wholeness rather than one part of us. So it's also what makes business more sustainable and holistic. So we're not moving forward by sacrificing other aspects of ourselves for the sake of overnight success or fast tracking our business. We're taking into account all parts of our being as we grow. So that's something to keep in mind as we're talking about natural pricing today, because we are really making sure that we balance the two, the structure and the flow today. And you might have been already taught very structured ways of pricing. Great, that's a good starting point. We're going to weave that in with the flow too. Okay, so money myths. I'll tell you a little bit about my story with pricing and money. I started out 4 years ago charging, $2,000 or $5,000 for a program, and I chose those numbers because I was told to choose those numbers, that that's what was expected in the marketplace, that was what was competitive. And I believed my mentors, and they obviously believed them on mentors, and so on. So there was this whole indoctrination for me when I first entered the entrepreneurial world full time. But what happened was I ended up essentially being a follower, disconnected from my prices and what I was truly offering people. And it resulted in money spikes in my income. So that was a whole other story around money flow, but prices certainly have an impact on our money flow because they're about connection and alignment and resonance with you and with your audience. So we're going to talk about that today, what creates a resonant price. But firstly, we want to question things. We want to question some of the things we've been told about money and pricing. First of all, that time equals money. So I'm not saying whether this is right or wrong. I'm saying we need to question what we've been told. Because when we don't question, we lock down into a way of operating, programming essentially around money and prices that perhaps doesn't serve us. So as sovereign beings, we must be questioning everything about money, everything that we know. And sometimes it's tricky to dig up all the programming that we have been taught. So time equals money is one thing. So if I have 1 hour of my time, it is valued at this much, and that locks us down into a certain way of thinking and charging. The other one is money indicates a level of commitment. So if you charge more, then people are more likely to commit and follow through and use your offering. Not true. Absolutely not true. Leonie's shaking her head too. So you've obviously had the same experience as me. It's shocked me sometimes how much people will pay and then not use what they've paid for. Amazing. So higher price tag does not mean that you will get higher buy-in or investment. Another one, price determines value. Price determines value, does it? So this amount of money means this much value. Well, that's again programming. So we've been taught that, well, $100 is worth this much. Is it really? Who's to say that it is? It's only that we believe that we buy into that locks us down into operating a certain way. And my favorite, mates rates. Oh, mates rates. Have you ever been asked for mates rates? Can I have a discount because I'm your friend? Happens all the time. And we in Australia call it mates rates. I'm not sure what it's called elsewhere. But here's the thing about mates rates. In other countries, it is the opposite. If you are buying something from a friend or a family member, you pay more because you love them and you want to support them. You don't want to pay less. Why would you want to pay less to someone that you care about versus a stranger? So these kinds of programming of buying into our own scarcity, oh, they're a friend, so I'm going to pay less. Can you feel what that does, how that feels in the exchange? It's about your scarcity. It's not about generosity or the other person or supporting them or abundance. So there's all this stuff going on behind the scenes. So often with mates rates and someone offers me a discount, I'll say, no, I'll pay full price, thanks. Or sometimes I'll pay more. So this is cultural. This is not something that is universal across the board. So asking questions, question everything. That's how we want to begin today. So traditional pricing is done from the mind, typically quite disconnected from the people that are buying the product. So it's all about the business, the person offering the product, and how much they want to charge rather than truly being connected in service to the audience. And it can also be quite manipulative. So pricing, there's a whole school of thought and studies done on what prices to charge to make people buy. So a lot of businesses still do that. So to me, when it comes to money flow, when we choose our pricing in this way, it's like damming a river. So you've got this beautiful water flow happening throughout the landscape. And then humans come along and we dam it. And we put concrete and bricks and whatever we can to hold on to that water. So that sense of restricting the money flow is what happens when we charge prices in this way, when we charge from the mind and force and control. So let's look at how natural pricing works by comparison. Actually, before we do, I'm going to talk through some of these pricing pitfalls because they really are quite commonplace and we need to catch ourselves out before we launch into a new way of doing pricing. How are you doing your pricing right now? So there's various methods and none of these are wrong. I'm not saying any of these are wrong, but we need to know how we are doing our pricing. So there's collapsed value. So you might be familiar with, oh, I'm collapsing into my price, so I'm going to charge something cheaper because that's how much I value what I'm offering. So there's a sense of disempowerment around the price. It's actually less than what your full true self would want to charge. There's also the psychological number, which is what I just talked about. So 1997 and things like that. You know, when you see the 7 at the end of a price, alarm bells go off for me because it's psychological. They're trying to manipulate you into buying because that's what's been market tested to sell to people. Don't ask me why, but if you want to do your pricing that way, that's your choice. You also have a choice to choose the affordable amount. So thinking about entirely what can my audience and my customers afford. So just simply going for the affordable amount. It's pretty straightforward, that one. Comparison dollar. So this is looking at being competitive in the marketplace. So comparing your price to other prices that are charged for similar products and services in the marketplace. The comparison dollar. And the final one is priority price. So this is where you're choosing a price to basically be a priority in the buyer's mind so that they want to buy straight away. So you're pricing to sell quickly. So there are just a few different methods that are typically used to price that are not necessarily natural pricing. But where do all these come from? So there's certain pitfalls that I see regularly, and in my experience, I've fallen into some of these traps myself. The number one mistake I see, especially conscious entrepreneurs make, is they try to price before their offering is even complete. By complete, I mean the offer is fully formed in its entirety. It fits you like a glove. You're happy to offer it. You know exactly what it's about. You can name it. You can say exactly what's offered as part of it. And you've got a price at the end. Must be the final stage of the process. And that's what we're going to talk about today. The price is the last step in the process. Denial of one's own financial reality. So pricing based on pretty much lying to yourself about where you're at financially. Requesting money from scarcity. So this is where we are actually not coming from a state of abundance, of gratitude for what we have already. Very different way of operating. Most people are operating from scarcity when they price and they offer things. Disconnected from the intended audience. Whoa, this is a big one. Yes, Priscilla. Oh, yes, scarcity has been a thing for me too. Yeah, we can all relate to that. Absolutely. Feeling disconnected from the audience is one that's often overlooked as well, as is misalignment with soul. So this is surprisingly common, even among conscious entrepreneurs, is they're trying to build a business that is actually out of alignment with who they really are. So their offerings, their products and services are a mismatch. So that misalignment straight away sets them up for friction around the pricing process and how their prices are received. So these are some of the typical things to look out for, be aware of when you're doing your pricing. But today we're looking at natural pricing, which is essentially resonant pricing. We are looking for price resonance with the numbers, the offering, and who we are as the person offering them. So do you feel good about your prices? Feeling good creates resonance. Do your prices have your audience in mind? Who you're selling to? And how much do you rationalize or justify your prices? So as soon as the rationalization comes in, the mind is taking over. So these are the kinds of questions we're asking today of ourselves. Firstly, though, is the question, why are you pricing in this way? So this all comes back to your intention. Your intention behind what you are offering, regardless of price, is so important. And most people don't get clarity on this part, even seasoned business owners. And I can relate to this myself, because when you have a new offering, you get all excited and caught up in it and you want to offer it. And, you know, there's this feeling of passion and wanting to get it out of you, wanting to create. But often that can be very premature, and you may never find you're truly in alignment with that offering if you don't really go through this process. So there's several elements involved with your intention. There is you. There's your product or service, and then there's your audience. See how they're in a line? That's the alignment. Normally, what happens is it's like a squiggle or a zigzag, and they never quite match up. So this alignment is essential to find a resonant price. And we're going to go through all of these points today, you, your product, and your audience. But let's start with you. So this is your intention. This is you offering the product. Where's it really coming from? What's the why behind this product? And then the numbers come from that. The numbers that you choose are an extension of your intention. So that's how your intention is translated to your audience. It'll make more sense when we get to the numbers part of this equation. But firstly, your intention. There are intentions that come from you, selfish intentions. This is why I'm offering this. This is how it serves me. So for example, I'm offering this particular product to grow my customer base for future offerings. That's a very particular intention. See how money's not even coming into the equation yet. What I'm getting out of this offering is I get to grow my customer base. I get to grow my tribe for the future. That's a different offering to something like, I just want to create an affordable option for budding entrepreneurs. Totally different intention behind an offering. As is to share my teachings more widely. Again, about me, I want to share my teachings. That's my intention. So if you have a product or service in mind right now that you're wanting to price, finding a resonant price for, ask yourself, what is your intention? What do you get out of this? It's not money. It's something non-money related. What's your intention? It's part of your strategy. It has to be part of your business growth strategy. So you want to grow your audience, you want to grow your customer base, you want to make it an affordable product versus your other perhaps high-end products. You want to serve part of the market that you're not serving currently. Once you get to that point, and it's okay if you don't know it right now, because there's, this needs to percolate too. It's not just a snap your fingers and I'm clear kind of process, always. Then you want to actually be looking at your intention for the audience, putting yourself in your audience's shoes. Okay, so, right, my intention with this workshop might be to bring harmony to your finances. Cool. That's how I want to serve you. See, that's not about me. That's how I'm being of service. It's with my audience in mind. Also, could be to show you the higher perspective on money. Slightly different. Or it could be to empower you with financial skills. So being clear, what do they get out of it? What's the purpose for them in saying yes to this offering? Very, very important. Tease out your own agenda from how you are being of service. That way, the product in the middle, as you can see here, remains clean and clear of any agendas. And this is so important because so often we offer something and it has our agenda all over it. Has anyone experienced that, where it's saturated with our money fears and the way we think it's supposed to be and the timing of it and wanting it to be a certain way? Our offerings can be drenched in our own agendas. So this keeps the continuum between you and your audience nice and clear. Is this making sense? Are you having any aha moments hearing all of this? Thumbs up from Priscilla. Awesome. You can write in the chat if you want to share anything about what you're realizing about your own intentions with your offerings.
Nat, can I just ask a question?
Please.
Okay. So through human design, I found out, of course, that I'm a projector. So I tend to wait until I'm invited.
Mm-hmm.
And so I guess my question is, a lot of the times I don't think about what's in it for me. I'm mostly thinking about what I'm doing for someone else.
Mm-hmm. Good question.
So So I guess I'm sitting here thinking, oh, what do I get out of that?
Okay.
Is that what do you mean? Like,
yes.
Yeah.
So I'm very glad you asked that because it does need a bit of clarification. So anything that you offer, and this is also something that's often overlooked, anything that you offer, any product and service needs to be part of your overall business strategy. So the you part for you, Leonie, is what does my business get out of this? Why would my business offer this? How is it part of my strategy for growth? So projector or not, your business has to benefit in some way from you offering this, and it goes beyond just bringing in the money. Does that make sense?
Yes. Okay. So, I mean, this, to say it out loud feels kind of like a bit, anyway, a lot of the times the part that I find is that I enjoy the process of sharing. Like, it actually helps me clarify into words what is in here. Like, the process in itself is actually serves me to better articulate my own understanding and knowledge. And in doing that, then I find I grow through the process of what I'm teaching.
Perfect.
Is that okay? Yeah?
You get out of it. Yep.
Yeah.
So
it is what I get out of it.
Yeah, part of your intention can be to refine how I'm teaching or how I'm
Yeah.
expressing myself.
Yeah.
That's cool. That's an intention. That is for you.
Yeah. And give language.
Yes. Yes.
You know, to give language to the stuff that we don't often understand.
Yep.
That drives me.
Cool. Yeah, great example. You know, because often, you know, we can offer, especially if you've got a beta program or beta offering that needs testing, you need feedback on it. That's your agenda. That's how it serves your business. You know, so really be mindful of it's okay to just put something out there to refine the offering, to receive feedback. That's cool. That's your intention. Good. Thank you for sharing that, Leonie. Good example. Anyone else want to ask anything or not clear or wants to share perhaps a different intention than what's here? Or do you need more time to think? More time? Okay. Let's look at, from your intention, what your pricing options are. So when you have a clear intention, you know what the audience gets out of your offering, you know what you get out of your offering, then you can start to look at, okay, so how would I charge for this? How? Not how much yet. How? So, of course, we know fixed price is universal. That's how most people are charging. Here's the price tag for this offer. But there are alternatives that we just wanted to plant the seed for today, because you don't have to be locked into that one way and you can experiment. And sometimes certain offerings suit alternative pricing options. So they don't suit a fixed price. So for example, with the Natural Cycle Planner, when I first released that, I got a very clear feeling of it cannot have a fixed price. It has to be an open price. So that's the first option, is you can offer something, pay from your heart or whatever you want to call it, with no fixed price. You can also offer no fixed price with a recommended price. So I've done this as well, where you can say, pay from your heart, but here's a recommended range, or here's what most people tend to pay, or here's what the value is in the marketplace from my perspective and my research. So you can have a suggestion that can work well sometimes, especially if people freak out thinking that they're going to offer the wrong price. Wrong price. You can also do a price selection. So this is where you have options. So I've done this too, where I've offered a coaching program with 3 different prices. So people just chose which price they wanted to pay. And I think the prices were something like $250, $350 and $450, something like that. Most people tended to choose middle of the road, which is cool, but some people chose the lesser amount, some chose the higher. So that can be a different way of opening up your money flow, because remember that this is all new for us, because this is doing money, doing business from a place of true abundance, not from scarcity. So we are actually wanting to unlock something in ourselves, to release ourselves from the binds of our money programming. So this can be a brilliant way of doing that. Try a different pricing method to unlock yourself and your customers too. Fixed price with a flexible payment plan. So this is something that I offer for my coaching programs, is I have a fixed price that I charge for, but I offer a flexible payment plan. So I will say, okay, so how much can you pay each week or each fortnight? And we work out a plan based on that. I don't charge any extra for that, but you can charge extra to cover your costs in that you're not being paid up front. Most people do that. I choose not to. And I also want my clients to get a sense of, okay, what's the right amount for me? So it means that I stand firm in my price. This is my hourly rate, but also gives them the flexibility to pay based on their own means. 50% deposit subject to acceptance. So this is an interesting one. I haven't tried this one, but I've seen it done quite effectively with the right audience. So we're going to get to that. Your audience is key. You also want to be making sure that the pricing method that you choose matches your audience. If they're not going to get it, don't bother. Stay with the conventional fixed price. So 50% deposit means that someone says, okay, so I want to pay you $150 for your session. That's my pay from the heart amount. And I'm going to pay 50% of that up front. When the session is over, I pay the other 50%. But if I feel like it's more or less, then I will pay that amount. So this is just a slightly different way of doing things, because often what happens when it is something like a session, people don't know the value. If you don't say this is what the session costs up front, and you say you pay from the heart, they can get in a tiz because they don't actually know what the value is until they've received the value. So this kind of covers that base. It means that they can nominate, okay, so this is what I feel it's worth right now, having not experienced it yet. And after I've experienced it, I have the option to review that amount. So there's some flexibility there. I love this one. I've done this one too. You pay what you charge. So sometimes, and this only works for certain types of services or products, but you can say, okay, so I will charge you what you charge your customers. So I will match your hourly rate. So I charge $200 an hour, but you only charge $150, so you only pay me $150. Or it could be vice versa. They might end up having to pay more. Leonie, yes.
Sorry. So is that more like someone who else is a practitioner? Because in my situation, that would be like, say, a farmer came in to see me for something. It wouldn't work in all situations, would it? Like as a naturopath, when I see people for consultations.
Oh no.
So this is more just a mutual level. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. So there has to be some alignment between what you both offer and how you charge, if it's an hourly rate. But it could work with a naturopath. If you have an hourly rate and they have an hourly rate, you can do it for that too. It doesn't have to be the same kinds of services. So it's just, again, something to experiment with. It can work really well for certain clients too, certain customers. Priscilla, can you intensify what kinds of offerings match the different identify what kinds of offerings match the different payment pricing options? Yeah, so that's a good question, and I will come back to that at the end, because I am going to answer some questions at the end, if it's not answered by the next slides, Priscilla. So we'll see how we go. Because essentially there are no right answers here. I'm not going to tell you what to charge or how to charge people. I can't. This is about your own sense of alignment, and it does take practice. It's a form of mastery. Cool. Nikki, love clarity around this kind of pricing with products, please. The pay what you charge option? Well, it's totally up to you, Nikki, how you want to do it. If you're charging like for like, as in product for product or product for service, you can get a sense of, okay, well, this took me an hour to make this product, so I can exchange that for an hour of your time, and that's whatever your hourly rate is in equilibrium to that.
No.
So there's lots of testing you can do with this. Some industries work better with some than others. Absolutely. Yeah. But it's more so about the audience more than the industry. So we'll talk about audience in a moment. The other one, yeah. Someone's saying something. Who is it? Jill. Hey, Jill.
In relation to Leonie's questions, I used to trade my plumber for my time as well, because we were pretty close to the salary. So I'd do work, he'd do work for me, and I would trade him time in, because our rates were very, very similar. Same with other companies, they actually were happy to trade for the amount of time.
Cool. So that's an exchange where it's, you know, hour for hour. If you're not doing that, so as in they want what you offer but not vice versa, then you can still charge them what their hourly rate is. So that's a little bit different, where it's an exchange or a, you know, a time bank, so to speak, where you're really hour for hour. This is a little bit different. You're actually charging money. Yeah, so you're charging money. You're saying, okay, so you charge $100 an hour, so that's what you pay me. So I'm adjusting my price based on what you charge people for your time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah. Because we're not going into exchanges today, because that would just be a whole other conversation, but it's a good one. We might do that at some point. The last one is sliding scale. Now, this is something I haven't done, where you have a price range based on people's means to pay, and they determine what they pay you. So you might have a range for a 1 hour consultation, $100 to $200, and they choose where on that scale that they fit. Privilege-based pricing, which is something that I did post in the group, but I'll also include in the email tomorrow, is something that my business brother, Peter Rubin, came up with, which is quite amazing. And he's had quite a lot of success with it in charging people who are disadvantaged financially. So making sure that his prices were based on privilege, and there would be a whole conversation that they had around that to make sure that the price was actually fair for each person. So that's something that you can do as well, but it is something that you would need to research and look into. So I do recommend reading his work on that. So there's just some things to whet your appetite here, some alternatives. You don't have to just do fixed price. This can free you up as well as your customers. So we're going to look at audience now. How will your audience receive your prices? So this is, again, audience in mind. How does it resonate for them? Talked about the alignment with you and the offering, but what about them? So first of all, this requires a bit of research. So you want to know your audience pretty well. And what I mean by that is your audience for each offering. Your audience is different for each offering. So for example, I could say, well, the Natural Cycles audience is made up of some budding business owners, some seasoned business owners, some employees, and some ex-mainstream business owners. Some people who've jumped ship and gone the alternative route in business. So these are cohorts. These are different groups within the larger market that you're targeting with your offering. So it pays to know what the breakdown is. Who are these people? What makes them different in terms of their, especially financial situation, but also how they might regard the offering. So someone who is an ex-mainstream business owner coming into this Natural Cycles group, for example, might be kind of very skeptical. Very skeptical about this way, because they've been indoctrinated into the mainstream way, and it has potentially worked well in terms of bringing in the dollars for them. Other budding business owners who are just starting out are going to be far more receptive, because they haven't been programmed yet and they haven't had much experience in growing a business in most cases. So they're going to be in a very different place and mindset, and perhaps financial means as well to engage in this group. So this is really important. Get to know your audience for each offering. Each offering. There's some other research you want to do, and that is around price range in the marketplace. So we're looking at similar products and services in the marketplace. What's at the low end? What's at the high end? What's the range for something like this? This isn't to prescribe you into anything, but it's to be aware of what the parameters are. This is the structure part of pricing. If you want your intuition to flow, you need information. So that's why we want to research about your audience first before we get to price. So the other piece you need to know is your break-even point. So that means how much do you have to make on each product that you sell where you're not losing money, where you break even. So you're regaining your costs, but you're not making money either. So that's your break-even point. If you're charging for your time, you must know this as well. So there's a lot that goes into getting to your break-even point. And I will include a spreadsheet that will help, especially if you charge for your time. But most product-based businesses know this already, what their break-even point is, amount is. So this is information that is going to help you to tune in the flow part, where you get to get a sense of what is the right price. This gives you parameters to work with. Any questions about this one? All good? Making sense? Are you getting a feel for what is really involved in finding a resonant price? That it actually takes a lot of energy and investment in the offering. And I will add, this is also important, that this is part of you creating the offer. Your offer is not created when you have a name and you know roughly what you're offering, or you know your break-even point, or you know how much you're going to charge. There is so much more that goes into it than that in a natural pricing way. Because this is where your heart and soul is truly invested in service to people. Real people. It connects you to your audience. It connects you to the money attached. It aligns you with your own intention so that the offer that you eventually deliver to the market is in full integrity. It is holistic. It has all parts of you invested in it and all bases covered. So it takes time. This is why a new offering in sacred business can't be rushed. So next, finally, we do numbers. So which numbers align with your intention?
Natalie, before you go.
Yeah. Who's got noise going on there? Maybe it is you, Jill. Yes, you have a question?
I have had a client pay and then come back and put more money in my account because she got more out of it. So that was very disconcerting when I first experienced it.
Can you speak up, Jill? Can't hear you very well.
I did have a client who paid on the day and then put more money in my account because she got more out of it, which was very challenging for me.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, it was pretty amazing actually.
Yeah, cool.
So that the new options of looking at that, you know, pay from your heart is feeling better and better every day.
Yes. So it's a good point. I started when I was charging sort of high-end prices for my services when I started out. Something felt off, and I actually felt out of alignment with what I was doing and offering, and so I decided to do my services as pay from the heart. So all my coaching was paid from the heart for some time. And I did it intentionally because I needed to feel like money was removed from the equation, that it didn't get in the way of what I was doing in true service to people. I needed to break a pattern, a program in me, and that's how I did it. You don't have to do it that way, but you do need to know what your programs are so that you're not at the mercy of them, because they can be shooting you in the foot and you don't even know it. Yeah, Jill's going, yep. So this is the beauty of natural pricing, is that you can reach an entirely new level of money flow, which is different from the mainstream way of how money is made. Money flow is a much deeper sense of true abundance in yourself, first and foremost. So which numbers align with your intention? Now, these numbers that I'm about to show you are based, and you might be familiar with numerology and the fact that numbers have a vibration, they have an energy, they have meaning. So this really taps into that. So this is through my experience using numbers to price products and services, the meaning behind the numbers. So they're all here, and we can use these numbers intentionally. So you have an intention with your offering, what you want for people to experience as a result of offering that product or service. So line the numbers up with that intention. So as I said before, my intention could be to bring harmony to your finances. So that's actually a very big one behind Sacred Business, which is why you see the 2 a lot. 2. So 2 brings balance and harmony. It's a heart number. So it is the center, it's the equilibrium point in our beings where we know the truth. We know what is balanced. So if that's my intention behind an offering, then I will choose a 2 in my pricing. That will be one of the key numbers. If my intention is to empower you with financial skills, I might choose an 8. Power, infinity, empowerment. So showing you the higher perspective of money could be a 9. Could be a 6 too, seeing the vision. So these numbers, and you will get a printout of these, so you don't have to scroll them all down right now. These numbers have an impact on us as human beings. They have a vibration. And when people see a number attached to an offering, a price, they either contract or expand. This is really where we're getting to with pricing, with resonant pricing. When people see your pricing, they will either contract or expand. So all the elements we've talked about, having an intention that is in alignment with the offering and the audience for that offering. They feel that. And so if the numbers attached to that offering are not quite right, they're out of alignment, they contract a little bit. And so do you. They feel that contraction. So what we're aiming for here is expansion. So when they see the price, they go, oh, yes. So what Pay from the Heart pricing is about is not falling into the trap of scarcity and going and analyzing, oh, can I afford this? Oh, that's too high. And getting into collapsed mode. around money. The one caveat, of course, being you can't be in denial about your finances either. That's not what this is about. If you are in truth with your finances, you can reach this level of expansion. If you're in denial about your finances, the reality of money, then you can't reach that expansion point because you don't have the truth yet as a foundation.
So Nat,
yes,
there's no zeros, so we shouldn't have things ending in 0?
You're way ahead of me.
Oh, sorry. Sorry. Okay, I'll go back. Okay, then I'll ask a different question.
Yes.
So it's the numbers that they see. It's not what those numbers add up to. We don't have to worry about the overall add up number the overall vibration. Okay.
You can if you want. If you're into numerology and you're used to adding up the numbers to a total number, you can totally do that. However, having experience with this, I feel that the numbers people see are more important. That's just my experience. So when people see a 2, unconsciously or not, they feel their heart, they feel that center of balance. So that's just my experience. You might have a different experience and play with it. There's no rules here. So the 0, this is the interesting part, is the 0 is the divine reset. That's what I call it. The 0, the circle, that's what a 0 is a circle, which is essentially divinity. It's all of life. All of life comes down to a simple circle. And if you've studied numerology or, this kind of thing before, then you'll get a sense of what I'm saying. If you don't, that's cool. But practically how you use this is the divine reset. That 0 is kind of like a digit that cleans the other numbers. And when I say clean, I mean it strengthens and clarifies the other numbers that are next to it. So I will almost always have a 0 in my prices because it goes straight to creation. It goes straight to divinity, the center of everything, that we are all one. We are all united. It's unity. That's what the circle is. So it's truth in a way. It's the truth that we all know. So when you choose a price, so if it's $20, that 0, having the 0 there strengthens the 2. It clarifies the 2. It makes it more powerful as a 2, as the vibration of the 2. If I do 2-1, for example, that's different. That has a very different energy. And there's nothing wrong with that. That can be what you're going for if that's the combination you choose. But for me, I'm looking to clean the numbers, clean the money, clean the exchange, keep it clean, get people connected to what really matters, what this is all about at the end of the day. So that's the divine reset number. So you can play with this. It's just there for your information. Experiment. So one phrase that I have found to be very helpful in the pricing process, when you get to this point of finding those resonant numbers, is saying, I open to receive money that is in alignment with my highest good. It's a very specific statement because a lot of the money we give and receive is actually not for our highest good. It is not in alignment with your soul's expansion. It is not expanding you. Often it can be contracting you, the money that you spend and the money you receive. So this is very clearly stating that whatever money comes to you, you want it to be in your highest good. You want it to be a means for expansion, not contraction. Something to put on your wall perhaps, or include in your meditation or your affirmation process, whatever your daily ritual is. but particularly when you're choosing the numbers for a particular offering. Say this as you're creating it and as you're offering it to people. As you're putting your offer out there, say this statement. I open to receive money that is in alignment with my highest good. That is opening a doorway very deliberately. Okay, so tying all of this together, there's a lot in this process, and it is something that it is, as I said at the start, pricing is mastery. It is something that needs to be mastered over time and practiced. I've been doing this for a few years now of resonant pricing, and I'm still learning. So step 1 is your offer clear and complete. Very important. Do not proceed if you do not have a clear offering yet. If it does not feel complete. Intention, which pricing method aligns with your offering? So when you know your intention for that offering, you'll be able to say, okay, so this needs a fixed price, or this needs to be paid from your heart, or this needs to be 50% upfront, or it's a sliding scale. That's how you figure out what method to use. Then your audience, what is the price range for your market segment? So as we said, the research is who's in your market, what are the segments, the cohorts of people who come from different circumstances, different beliefs, different psyches, and what's the price range for the market. That's your structure. Okay, oh, Leonie's off. Okay, just reading these comments. Nikki, love this way of looking at pricing. Would it be okay offering different atrial pricing options with your products and natural? Do I not know what that word means? Natural pricing options with your, yeah. So we'll talk about that, because I am going to answer some of the questions that came in the Facebook group, and I think that was along the lines of your question, Nikki. So finally, numbers. What numbers will achieve your intention? Making sure the numbers line up with the offering, with the audience, with the impact, the outcome that you want to have with that offering. So this is a complete reframe of how we do pricing, but the steps are actually really simple. But don't be fooled. They can take a long time. It can take a long time to fully formulate an offering in this way, where it is completely resonant. So don't rush it. Don't rush the process. Just allow yourself to go through these stages, particularly if this is new to you. So intention plus audience plus numbers means you find your resonant price. So how are we going for time? We are bang on time. Nikki's got to go. Oh, no, you've got kids and puppies. Rightio, no worries, Nikki. I'm going to be staying behind to answer the questions that came through in the Facebook group, some of which may be already answered or partly answered from the workshop today. But if you do have to go, let's know in the chat, what is your takeaway from today? What are you taking with you from this workshop? I'd love to hear. We'd all love to hear. What is it for you? What's that gem? Lots of thinking faces going on. Rachel, that I need to rejig my prices, which probably means reprinting everything, LOL. Well, you don't have to rush into anything, Rachel. Just remember that. but this is going to change how you see your prices and your offerings. So just allow it to unfold naturally. Nikki, I have a choice how I price my offerings, not a fixed one now. Yay! That's good. That's what we want. Expansion. Priscilla, getting clear on the intention, which helps clarify for the audience. Yes, intention. Cool. Thanks, everyone. All right, let's go to your questions now. So I'm just going to end this. All right. So I've written your questions down, and so even if you're not here, that's okay. It's on the recording. So we had one for, I'll go to you first, Nikki. You were asking about charging individual or flexible prices to people in person at markets versus having fixed prices online. Do you just want to, can I unmute you, and do you want to just clarify your question, or if it's already been answered?
Yes.
Hey, Nikki. Can't see you, but it's all good.
Hi, Natalie, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but I can't see you. Yeah.
No, it's because I've got a little bit of chaos going around me in the house at the moment.
That's okay.
So the kids have gone outside with the puppy.
All good.
So yeah, I guess my sense of when I'm standing at a market and then I don't obviously have the pricing sitting on my products, and then when people ask me the price, they obviously have that expansion or contraction sense that comes with that price tag attached.
Yep.
So can I individually and sort of intuitively choose what I feel that product should be charged at on that day with that particular person? I guess my problem is I'm in quite a small community, and just thinking if I start doing that, I still have a fixed price online, and then people know each other that are using the products, and how does that all kind of fit together?
Yeah, this is a great question. Okay, so the first thing I would say is, if you want to go down this route, the number one thing is that you are strong and clear and firm in your own prices first, in what they're actually worth.
Okay.
Because the risk is that you will collapse into the other person collapsing around money. And you do not want to do that. It is not all about them and how they receive your price. It's also about you and how you stand in your price.
Yes, and I have actually felt that I do justify a lot when someone questions the price tag, so I'm definitely not standing strong in that price.
Yep, and we can relate to that. So that is number one thing I would say before you even look at doing flexible pricing for each person. But in terms of unlocking your own money programming around this, you might want to just experiment on a very small scale. So for example, you could identify, because you have regular customers because you're local, you could identify certain people that you know, so not strangers, not new customers, but people that you know who want your products but can't afford them, and you offer this flexible pricing to them on a case-by-case basis and privately.
Okay.
You must know your break-even though, which I'm assuming that you do with products.
Yeah.
So you're not going to go below that. So you do not want to make a loss, because you want to be clear about your intention with this. So your intention with this, from what you said, is, my understanding is that it's not so you can make more money or move more product. It's actually so you can unlock something in you, right?
Yes, and just sharing it more with more people in the world.
Brilliant. So that's the audience intention, so that they can have easier access to your products. Yes? Cool. That's a nice, clear intention. So I would just think about experimenting on a very limited scale with particular people and just see how it makes both of you feel. See how the flow changes for you, and see where that takes you next.
Okay, no, that sounds good. I'm just going to say, be the devil's advocate here and think of two particular women that buy my products that love them and they are good friends.
Yeah.
If I was one to come back, I just already visualize this woman coming back to say, oh, so-and-so just told me she paid this much. Can I have the discount too? Or
well, it's not a discount.
No.
Gillian wants to say something.
Yeah, I used to do this a fair bit with clients in need, and I said, this is a special thing for you, and it's not really for sharing. This is just for you. So I would frame it in that way.
Yep.
You know, this, and they actually never told anyone else. And I actually have several clients that are on different pricing. They don't know, each of them don't know, but because I know what they can afford in their jobs. It's a bit like you were saying, Natalie, in the other one, where their level of income matches their price.
Yep.
And I just frame it. This price is specially for you. You know, I don't. You know, it's not something I give anyone else.
Yeah.
And really, that's what you're doing in that moment. It's that price.
Thank you so much. That's amazing.
Yes. And I would also add to say why you're doing it. Be transparent about why. So I've chosen you because I know you love the products and I know you can't always afford them. And I want you to be able to access the products, and we're friends and whatever it is, but just be transparent completely upfront with your why.
Okay, perfect. One little quick other aside, then how do you transfer that over to your website pricing? Or is that just something separate that will evolve?
I would leave that for now and let this evolve.
Yeah.
You don't know really
Okay.
where this is going to take you. So yeah, you know, you're really sort of moving into that zone of a community-based business with the, you know, the face-to-face workshops and retreats or whatever. So things will really change when that starts to open up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Awesome, Natalie. Thank you. I will mute myself. I hear children.
All right. And thanks, Jill, for chiming in there. If you do have experience with any of this stuff, please chime in, because we'll put our heads together at once. All right. So that's Nikki's question. Let's see. Rachel, what happens when a set payment is required of you? So someone's charging an amount, a fixed amount for a product or service. What happens then? Was that your question, Rachel? I'll just unmute.
Sorry, hi. I'm not quite sure that it sort of fits in, and I suppose the obvious answer is, if that's what they want and you want the product, then you just pay it. But I'm trying to find balance in it, in not only me making the prices, but also being in something that is open to that sort of pricing also. And how do we reconcile that?
Yeah. So in terms of what's available to you, it's mostly in fixed prices, and how do you relate to it? Yep. So firstly, the thing that I would suggest is deliberately seeking out businesses to buy from that have not necessarily flexibility around prices in the way that we've talked about today, but have an intention that aligns with what you're wanting to create.
Okay.
So if you're wanting to create more empowerment and disconnecting from the money matrix, money program, then choose businesses that are doing things a little bit differently and breaking that mold as well.
That makes complete sense.
Yeah. So rather than just relating to the numbers that you're being charged, that are being prescribed to you, you're relating to the intention behind it.
Yeah.
And that can have a very similar effect anyway.
That feels really good, because I am finding that I want to disconnect from that money matrix and the whole, you know, being controlled by money and being a slave to the money.
Yep.
And so that feels really good to look at it that way.
Right. Yeah. Like one example that comes to mind is, you know, when you're, instead of buying your groceries at a supermarket, you buy them directly from a farmer or at the farmers markets, and you actually ask, you know, how is this food produced, and do they use ethical practices, and are they consciously working with the earth in harmony with nature? Because that's really what it's about. It's about harmonizing and true abundance. So that's one way.
Perfect. Am I able to ask a very quick question?
Sure.
I hope it's quick. And I am on call, so if the phone rings, I'm just going to sort of shut everything down and I have to run off, so I apologise in advance.
All right.
I've set my prices at 150 on a term. So I'm providing meditation and yoga classes to children in preschools and childcare centres. 150 now that I've looked at those numbers that you gave me, doesn't quite feel right. I'm not quite sure why. I don't know that I absolutely understand the 5 and the meaning behind the 5. So I was wondering if you might be able to explain that, please.
Yeah.
Something in ego, identity and ego, and that doesn't feel in alignment with what I want to do.
Yeah, that's cool. Good question. So, identity and ego is basically about, well, it's exactly that. So if your offering is about helping someone discover who they are, for example, 5 is perfect. If it's about them questioning their ego and their ego drives, 5 could be perfect as well.
So my audience, my purpose behind my audience was to empower them.
Yeah.
And that the audience has easy access to my offering.
Yep.
But I suppose it really is also about ego too, because then I'm thinking, well, identity at least, because then they can see the powerhouse that they are in my offering to empower them. Does that make sense?
Yeah. And, you know, sometimes it just takes a little bit more gestation with the offering and going, what is really the essence of this offering? You know, often people offer things and they don't ever get to the essence of what it is they're offering. What's it really about? What does it really do for people? So if it really does come down to identity, great. But my sense is it possibly doesn't, that it's actually...
It feels more like empowerment.
Yeah. If it's empowerment, go for the 8.
Yeah, right. I don't know how I'm going to work that in though. This is when the logical mind goes, you know, if I charge $180, is anybody really going to pay $180 for their 5-year-old to go to preschool and learn meditation and yoga?
Yep. So this is where you've just got to trust and let the price be revealed to you. Let it unfold. Because what can also happen in this process is, now that you're opening up, you're saying to the universe, I'm open to doing it differently now. So instead of having this boxed way of creating an offer, even the offering might change.
Okay.
You know, it might change.
That hurt my brain then.
Well, yeah, like you just don't know. There could be additional add-ons. There could be a restructure of duration or time. You've just got to go with the journey of the offering. Go with where that boat is taking you down the river. You're sitting in the offering, see where it takes you, and the numbers will be revealed.
Okay, that's perfect. Thanks so much. Thank you.
And maybe, Rachel, the 8 is actually a combination of the numbers.
Yeah, 5 and a 3, you mean? 5, yeah, cool. Good point.
Yeah, okay. So what's 3? 3 is connection, is it? No?
3
expression.
Yep. Yeah. So good point. So there can be combos if you want to use that.
Okay. Oh, that's got me thinking now. Perfect. Thanks so much, Gillian. Thank you, Natalie.
No worries. Cool. All right. Questions I've got to answer. Let's see. Different prices for different markets. Janet and Tracy were asking about this. So, so I remember Tracy's comment was basically saying that because Tracy's not here now, she was wondering if she can offer corporate people who can afford more a different price. There's nothing wrong with this if you're transparent about it, but you don't want people finding out that they could have gotten it cheaper if, you know, elsewhere if they weren't in that situation. So it's very much around transparency. But absolutely, yes, you can be open about this and be flexible on price. And I would even suggest a sliding scale just to formalize it a little bit, so that you actually have a range. So if you're in corporate, you know, in a high-flying corporate position, then you're going to be up at this end. If you're in, you know, a startup business or you're not working, then lower end. And just talk to each person individually. That would be what I would suggest there. And Janet, I hope that answers your question, but if it doesn't, please ask in the group for clarification. Renee Tranta asked about how to price high-end packages so that people go, wow. Well, for me, the wow factor is resonance. If you actually get to the end of this process where you have an offer in full integrity, people are going to go, wow, trust me. Because their heart just says yes. Because it's whole and it feels true to them. It won't feel true to them if there's something missing from the offering or something's out of alignment. It won't feel true. When it feels true, the heart says yes, and it's easy to hand over the money. So they don't feel that sense of resistance. So even if it's a high price tag, if you go through this complete process, I'd be very surprised if the right people that, you know, you intend to target don't get a yes as well. And last question, Leonie, what is a fair price? What is considered a fair price for books, services, sessions? I think she had a few examples. So no one can answer what a fair price is really, because the fair price has to come from resonance. So I'm pretty sure we've answered that question today, but if we haven't, Leonie, please just ask in the group. That's all the questions I have. Are there any live here now? Nikki or Priscilla, did you have any questions? Or Jill even? All good?
Yeah.
Oh, Priscilla had a question.
Everyone asked a lot of really good questions, so it's actually given a lot of clarity, but I do think I have to go back and rewatch this one. There's so much you've covered, which is pretty good. It's good.
Yeah, there is a lot of reframing. Cool. So your question is all good then, Priscilla?
Yeah.
For now. Okay, feel free to ask in the group then if it's not. Lovely. All right. Well, thank you everyone so much for coming along and the people listening in. This has been a big topic to cover, and there's a lot more in pricing that we might cover later in the year. So for now, there's plenty to digest. So that's it from me. Bye, everyone. I might see you at the next workshop, which is Natural Innovation for Aquarius in a couple of weeks. So stay tuned in the group for all the details on that.